record. Okay, hello and welcome. And if you still don't really like that intro, I have a new one coming. One that I found out about the other day that a friend of mine is making for me. So it may not be around for much longer, so enjoy it while you can. Anyway, I'm Bryce, and today I want to talk about a few things. Two things, to be precise. Ctf and Uplink. But I'm actually going to cover Uplink first, because I need to kind of get that out of the way. There's been a lot of talk recently about these two game modes, because coming to Black Ops 3, people aren't used to them. It's a very different mechanic. It's very not the norm of what we've been expecting. Uplink is not working the same way on Black Ops 3 as it did in AW, and CTF has kind of come back after 2 years. So people are a little bit all over the place about it at the moment, and I find that really interesting. So there are several things we need to take into account first of all, and I'm actually going to bring up some notes here because I actually had a long conversation, with somebody where I kind of wrote down a load of stuff which I kind of try to explain in simpler terms. So it's kind of good for me to refer to this. So, for Uplink, what is the problem with Uplink and why are people moaning? Now, it's mainly down to the movement mechanics and how Uplink worked in AW. Uplink in AW was fantastic. We all know this. So I think one of the main issues we're having here is the drone carrier or the ball carrier, whatever you want to call it in Uplink, was a massive threat. Now, what I mean by this is in the kind of some of the great scoring positions in Uplink, if there were two players there, someone obviously blocking or using their gun to try and force a path, and the drone carrier right next to each other, you had that horrible moment where you didn't really know which one to shoot. If you shot the player with the gun, there's a good chance that in the time you got to kill him, the guy with the drone would already have probably slid, jumped, burst, and gone straight over your head and be off and away into the point, or scored a 1. So it was really difficult, and if you shot the guy with the drone, there's a good card the other guy would have killed you, picked up the drone, and scored anyway. So it was difficult, right? It was that horrible, right, we've got to have enough bodies here, we've got to make sure. That's why blockers were good in scoring positions, and the movement mechanics allowed you to duke out players. The drone carrier could very easily go one way, slide burst, bang, he's gone the other way, he's going for a 1, it's difficult for you to stop him. It means that drone control was super important, you had to kind of throw a lot of bodies at it. We saw fantastic drone movement from players actually come in as I smashed my microphone. So it was one of those things, like it was difficult to stop him. They could easily out-juke you. We've seen players go over players' heads and score 1, we've seen interceptions, everything, right? What happened in Black Ops 3? We don't have the burst movement system. We have a thrust movement system, but not the burst. And we have the slide, but it's not as great as the other one because there's no jump bursty movements. So, what does this do? This means, if say you're in the same scenario, where you've got the two players coming towards you, who do you go for? You just go for the gun player. Because I'm fairly certain, and you're probably fairly certain as well, not only can you outgun him, but because you've probably been in a defensive position, but that carrier isn't going to be that far ahead. He's not going to be able to just get away. He's not going to be able to burst over your head in that time. He's going to be really close to you and not going anywhere. And this is forcing teams to play more defensive. It's even forcing drone carriers to drop the drone and just say, nope, I've got to throw this forward. And we've seen it multiple times. Players will just throw this forward to bring that gun back into play because it's more of a grind. There's also a lot of chest high cover in this game. And because we don't have the burst system, you can't really outflank these people as easily. You can't burst past them. It's not as movement based in terms of that kind of flanking and pinching and picking off people. So you can see somebody with a good AR shot usually holding down this choke point. So you have to grind through him. You have to make more kills. And that's really making players struggle because drone carriers are sitting there like, I cannot get forward. I cannot use this drone to stay alive. If they start taking shots, they cannot burst into movement, they cannot burst into cover, they cannot get away as much, and this has slowed down every single part of Uplink. And that's why people are kind of struggling with it. That's why it's not the same game. It's just because we're not playing the same game. How do we fix this is something I kind of want to talk about right now. Is there a way to fix Uplink? Can we fix Uplink? What do we do to fix Uplink? Honestly, it's difficult. You're talking about fixing something by how do you do this? Do you make the drone carrier have more armor? That really wouldn't save an awful lot. It'd just be quite frustrating just to hammer bullets into them. Do you make them a little bit faster? I mean, you could make the drone carrier faster. Doing that would make them a little bit more of a threat, as they would be quite fast and difficult to grab a hold of, and suddenly back to kind of already kind of seeing it back to the AW meta. But doing that actually also comes with a negative. If the drone carrier is actually faster than the players on his own team, then his teammates can get left behind, which means the drone carrier has to then stop, which players have to catch up, and all of a sudden it's a bit jarring. I don't think it would work fully. What if, and I don't really see this, what if having the drone gave your entire team a small buff? I'm just putting this out there. This is just a conversation. But what do you think? Now, if you picked up the drone, you got everything that usually comes with the drone. You got your armor. But maybe it gave a little bit to your teammates. Or maybe it made your entire team 10% faster. All of a sudden, now, having that drone is an advantage. You want to keep hold of it. You have a little bit more of an advantage as well, meaning that we're going to see more scoring games, maybe a little bit faster paces. People look to push this advantage. I don't know. That's kind of my thoughts on Uplink and what's been going on, what's been happening. Like, I remember seeing, I actually think it was Parasite. I remember seeing him throw the drone forward, pick out back his weapon, and join the gunfight. And I remember sitting there going, didn't really happen in AW. Players would throw that away, maybe throw it deep or just throw it into play it off or whatever, bring the gun back out, but never 10, 15 yards in front of them, never at the enemy, because wrapping on this game doesn't happen that much. So I was thinking that's just not a scenario you would have done it in AW. He would have probably gone the other way, would have allowed his teammates, maybe would have played it off. But no, he's like, well, I'm going to put it there, knowing they're not really going to play it off themselves, and just joining the gunfight. So this is something that's different. It's not necessarily worse. It's just it's a big step away, and I think that's a lot of the problems people are having. So this brings into it Ctf, and Ctf is we haven't had proper Ctf for 2 years. I want to point that out. The year before we had in Ghost we had Blitz, and then we had AW Ctf, but there was a few issues with Ctf which didn't make it, in my opinion, like the proper Ctf. There's a few things, and that made it. It was a bit off due to spawns and the speed you could get back, and it wasn't proper CTF, and eventually got dropped, right? So yeah, in my mind, we haven't played proper CTF in a while. Now, people aren't liking CTF early. It seems to be very campy already, and that's probably down to how this game is playing out at the moment. The fact that there is a lot of chest high cover, and there's a lot of very good ARs, and these players are tending to kind of hold up. I mean, I watched Swanee the other day, and Swanee's a machine on this game. Ban every burst gun against him just to make sure. I'm just going to burn all the ARs. But yeah, it's coming to a point where players are really struggling, and I think this is coming down to a very similar thing. First of all, no one's played CTF in 2 years, and that's a long time. Even though these players go, oh yeah, I know how to play this. Even like Hardpoint, the players are still trying to get back in their mind of, can't rotate, within 5 seconds. I've got to go. Do we leave it at 25 seconds and try to get that next one? Right? That's something we haven't dealt with for a year, 2 years as well. Proper hardpoint. Classic hardpoint, I should say, not AW hardpoint, because that's still proper hardpoint. So, in CTF, and this is maybe just my memory of it, but the SMGs used to have a nightmarish time. I think that's a lot of S&D, CTF players right now are kind of struggling with that, because with the defensiveness of this game and with how good it is to kind of post up, SMGs, if you remember correctly, used to be about map control, gaining those cuts and getting ready to cut places off. So your entire team would move forward and get kills, grab the control, push forward. You get 2 or 3 down, you'd go for a flag. The SMG would have to rip it out. Now, the problem being in this case, I'm actually going to take a drink. The problem being in this case is that those SMGs would usually get hammered. It was completely normal to see an SMG player, an objective player, get very negative. It's where it came from, right? That's where this objective player came from, because these players would get absolutely ruined 90% of the time. They had to rely on their teammates to help them out a lot. They had to kind of just dive in, and they didn't know all the corners. They may have an AR with them that goes in, but most of the time it was very, very difficult. I think we're seeing that again. Now, I kind of want to see more CTF on this game. I think we'll probably see it adapt a little bit as people learn the spawns, and I think that's crucial to CTF. Once players start learning the spawns and enough to manipulate them every single way they want to, and the correct maps for CTF, because CTF doesn't work on everything. I think we're going to start seeing it be okay again. Don't expect, I think, because also don't remember, I think we've been spoiled by Uplink and Blitz having, 20 to 30 points scored. A 1-0 game of CTF was still a 1-0 game, and they happen quite frequently. We also saw stalemates, we saw 0-0s, we see overtime on a quite regular basis. I've done a 3-time overtime before where I've actually seen both teams end up playing 40 minutes of CTF. Now, how quickly this adapts, I don't know. How quickly this goes with specialists, with the score streaks, with everything involved, I don't know. I do think both going modes have a really good chance. I think the issues with Uplink could be solved with a degree of tweaking. I think maybe if we tweak it a little bit, we might have a little bit of an easier time. CTF, I think people are going to just have to get used to it sometimes not being the greatest of games and being a bit of a stalemate. And I get that it's campy. I saw Apathy's video on it, where I think them and Optic went 0-0 and it just kept being 0-0. And I get that. But it's either one of these game modes and people are leaning both ways, or we just play 2 all year long. And I don't think we want to play 2. I do think we probably have either Uplink or CTF in the middle. I don't think we're going to have both. I'm not sure we're going to have 4 game modes, not because one of them's bad or one of them's good, but because we're probably just going to have to pick at some point. But I don't know. Currently, everything's in arena. We're all testing it. We're all playing it. I'm kind of talking to some pros at the moment, kind of finding out what they think. So, yeah, kind of just that's my thoughts on the issues we've been having, and I'm kind of curious to know your guys' thoughts. And I want to see, how this kind of progresses. I want to see how everybody kind of adapts and who becomes the CTF squad, because we saw some great games on Black Ops 2. Some fantastic games. In fact, you should probably go watch ESWC, and I think it's Complexity versus, I want to say, Epsilon. So go and watch that game. It's probably one of the best CTFs you'll see, and it's very late in the meta as well, so there's no sentry guns, no shotguns, whatever. But it's fantastic, and that's how CTF could be. So go back and watch that game. Go find it. I'll find the VODs. If I find it, I'll put it in the description. But yeah, fantastic. So I'm kind of understand why a lot of people are stressing about this. It is very defensive at the moment. A lot of people are still working out how to manipulate the spawns, and some of the maps aren't going to work as well as we would like. But we'll find out, and we'll get there. Anyway, I've been Bricey. This has been another video. Please put your comments, respond to me on Twitter. I want to know what you think. I want to know what, especially if you're playing this at a high competitive level. I've been speaking to pros, but I always appreciate speaking to more. I appreciate speaking to all the community. How have you been experienced at every level? Because this is where it needs to sit. It's all great, the pros playing this at one level and understanding them. But if you hate it at a lower level because people are playing it very differently and maybe not understanding as quick, that's also going to be an issue. So yeah, please let us know in the comments. Please tweet me. Give this video a like, subscribe. I've got a load of things coming up, including a giveaway, which will probably be my next video. But until then, I will see you next time. Goodbye.